4 years ago, a study was done of all the Vietnam veterans from the war, over 1.5 million people. They found that 30.6% have post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. About a third. Of the prisoners of war, 4% of us have PTSD. In fact, they coined a new term. We are the poster boys for PTG, post-traumatic growth. And we're doing a lot in that area to welcome veterans home today so that they don't fall into the post-traumatic stress disorder category. And they believe that part of it was just because of the leadership that we had in those prison camps and the unity that we gained through that leadership. Our leadership there, Jim Stockdale, Jeremiah Denton, John McCain, told us that we weren't victims. We weren't being held there, obviously against our will, but we weren't being put upon. We were warriors. We weren't on the defense. We were still on the offensive. We were fighter pilots that were going to pursue this war till our last dying breath, and it turned the whole thing around, and it was amazing. John McCain, I knew well. He was my flight instructor. He taught me to fly jets in Meridian, Mississippi. We know his brother even better, Joe McCain. In fact, we were with Joe 3 weeks ago. And Joe tells us that John is fighting the good fight, that the chemo and the radiation is the worst part of his disease. But he's a tough, tough guy, and probably the toughest guy in that prison camp. In fact, I was the first guy to communicate with John. He was shot down 5 months after I was, and of course I knew who he was. They brought him in a stretcher and put him in cell number 3. I was in cell number 1 in that particular camp. I got a hold of the guys in cell 2 saying, you better get a hold of this guy because he's really hurting. All we could see was bloody rags coming out of that cell every day. They tried to communicate with John McCain, but to no avail. Then I'm peeking through my little crack in the door. Into the camp comes a pair of shears, the old hand hair clippers. Remember those? That was always bad news. That meant that our prison was going to be cleaned up to see a delegation. This is in the days of Jane Fonda, Ramsey Clark, Tom Hayden, the guys and gals that went over to Vietnam. They would clean us up, shave haircut, and present us to the delegation. And frequently they had to torture guys to say that the treatment was good. It was that crazy. They took the clippers into cell 3, the new guy. The next day I'm peeking through my crack in the cell door, and I see outside of cell 3 the big pile of white hair. Most of us were in our 20s and early 30s. There are very few prematurely gray fighter pilots in that war. And I'm thinking to myself, the only guy I know in the Navy that's got hair like that is my old flight instructor. It must be John McCain. I still didn't know for sure, but what I did know was his brother, Navy, his father, a Navy admiral, their grandfather, a Navy admiral. I knew the great naval tradition of the McCain family. And so the next time I got outside my cell with my bucket going towards the sewer, as I passed cell 3, I let the guard get a little ahead of me, and I whistled. I dumped the bucket, came back past that cell, and heard very faintly from inside that cell, it was John McCain. Was he torn up? 7 broken bones, and they were twisting his broken bones to torture the poor man. What a leader he turned out to be. And I don't know your political leanings, but I will tell you this. He's one of the toughest guys I know, and if anybody can beat this brain cancer, I think he can.